What's up, y'all? It's Thunderstick, Thunderstick Homestead. So today, since I have an influx of subscribers, which I'm appreciative for, I thought I would go through the whole homestead and show you what all is wheelchair accessible, so to speak. Ladies! Before we go through the homestead and show y'all everything that makes it unique and wheelchair accessible, I just want you to remember, number one, it took years to get where we're at now, and number two, you gotta start, no matter where you are, you gotta start where you're at. Whether you're in an apartment, a quarter of an acre, or a whole acre like we got here, you gotta start there, because when you get your dream homestead with all the land, if you're not already using what you got, you're not gonna use all that land that you purchased. So just keep that in mind. So the first thing that I want to mention is when we got to building all of this, we used the current hard structure that was already here. The barn used to be a workshop, and then before that, it was a like a fort or a playhouse for me and my friends when I was real young. So like I said, we used the structure that was already here. Early on, when I decided I was going to get chickens, I had to figure out how am I going to collect eggs. Because that was the whole reason that I got into chickens. I wanted to sell eggs. So I did research and I looked online, and finally I found this little coop, which is what I started out with. I started out with maybe 4 or 5 birds. Now we're at the number we are now. So this coop, easy to construct, you can find it online. But I made really about 5 modifications. One of them being these latches. There was one right here, and I just did not like it. So these latches are easy for me to use. I just come over here, unhook them, and normally the eggs are right in there. I've already collected them for the day. I don't have any forethought, or I would have left them in there. But so that's how I collect the eggs. It's right at wheelchair height, and like I said, using the current hard structure, it fits in between this ramp and the porch on this building. The only thing that I did to this building to modify it for the chickens was I pulled off a rail on this other side so I could open those doors where I feed them. Before we move on, and a lot of these things are so intuitive to me, I don't really realize they were made for my handicap, so to speak. So one thing that I have is I got this rope, and this rope has a carabiner attached to an eye bolt. Once again, I had to put the eye bolt there. What this does is it allows me to open and close the door on the other side of the coop. That way, if I want to shut up the large chickens, maybe we're working in there, or for whatever reason, I just come over here, unhook the carabiner, and the door goes down. Just like this. So I pull on this, I unhook the carabiner, and I just lower the rope, try not to hit nobody, and the door's down. I don't know if y'all can see that. It doesn't close all the way because of the molt, but it does what it intended to do. And then I just pull it back up when I'm done. I got most of the chickens in the electric fence, but there's always a few that don't want to come out. So anyway, these are the locks that I chose. I chose these locks because they're easy for me to open up. It really does take two hands, simply because I gotta drive. Really? Anyway, I gotta drive, but these gates, they're light. They do work. It's all made of wood, but nonetheless, still easy for me to do. And if you really feel so inclined, you can lock these so they can't open. If you notice, I got two doors. The top door is the one I open when I want to feed them. We'll get to that in a second. The bottom door is the one I open up when I want to let them out. And the locks are the same on both doors. Something else that I want to mention is this chain. The reason I have the chain is so that the bowl doesn't end up on the other side of the pen where I can't reach it. Chickens will kick around a bowl like that, so it has to be chained down. I have two bowls in this pen. Both of them have chains on them. The last thing I want to mention while we're in this area is the water system. So I have a bowl with a float valve. Matter of fact, for a detailed instruction video, look right there. I'll put it up there for you. So I got a bowl that basically it fills itself because it's got something called a float valve. And all I do is I come right here, turn on this valve, and the water comes in. One thing I want to note, when you're buying water fixtures, try to buy metal ones. They're easier to turn and such. The plastic, it just kind of gumps up, and it's doable. They're cheaper. You see, I have plastic on all my fittings, but the metal, it just works better. As y'all know, we have pavers coming from the driveway all the way down to the barn. In some areas, like this here, I'm able to turn around. And we only did that once I started working with the chickens. When I had just the workshop, this turnaround wasn't needed. So let me go ahead and show you the turnaround, and then we're going to go ahead, go into the barn, show you what I got in there. So in here, we did several things to make it easier for me to feed the chickens and get whatever it is that I needed. One thing we did is we built that little table there that theoretically I could slide under, but I don't ever do that. As you can tell, we just pile feed bags under there instead. Those white containers, honestly, they're expensive. They're about $60 as of the filming of this video. But they're really easy to open up. You can have them in multiple positions, and you can stack them for your feed. And that's what I do currently. There's feed in every one of them, but it's just one. One thing I will say, if you have rats or mice or squirrels, don't put anything in those containers that they would like. That's why I have this metal trash can, because I had originally put corn in one of those white containers and they just chewed it up and got into the corn. So now it's in a metal trash can and I've not had any issues since. All the food bags are on the floor so that I can reach into them. If you don't have a setup like this, I would advise you get a trash can, another one, that you can put your feed bag in and just scoop it out of that so the rats and everything won't get into your corn and into your feed. The other thing that I like in here are these feed buckets. They're not food grade. Whoops. They're not food grade, but they're similar. And in this one here, I keep oyster shells. And I keep all this inside the barn just so it doesn't get wet. These lids are not waterproof. So if you're interested in these lids, I'll leave a link down in the bottom. Before I left the barn and we moved on to gardening, I wanted to say another thing that I do to make my chores a little easier is I prep for the day ahead. What that means is I have the food already laid out, and that way I get up in the morning, I come down here, I feed them, or someone helps me feed them, and we go right back in the house to do everything I need to do. And that's just a thought I wanted to mention to you guys. Have everything ready, that way if something pops off or you don't feel good, you can just run down, tend to the animals, and go right back in the house. I want to start out with the door. Before I open the door, if I come over here and I pull this out, it's just a little PVC rod with a little piece of rebar in it, and it's stuck in the ground. I back up, push the door, and I either, kick it or something. I push it back, and I take this rod, and I put it right back in the pipe, and it'll hold the door open. And I just go on in. First thing I want to talk about are the raised beds. So these are made out of cinder blocks that have the little slits in the side. I believe they call them tassel cinder blocks or something like that. And I just stack these boards up, and they just sit in here. And with the weight of the dirt, they don't go anywhere. The benefit of this, not only was it cheaper, when we move, we can pull the boards out, pull the blocks up, and take them with us. No nails in the whole system. So another thing that we did is we wanted to grow things on cattle cattle. So we put one end of it in the raised bed. And since there's nothing growing on this side, I hang my tools. And the way I do that is just these little hooks that can be found in Lowe's. Just hang them on there. And most garden tools have a hole or some way that you can hang them. So that's how I hang all my garden tools. As I said just a second ago, we like to grow on cattle panel. And though none are ready right yet, when they are ready, I just come over here, pick them off, put them in a bag, and harvest all the cucumbers myself, aside from the ones that grow above my head. Another thing that we have done out here in the garden is we've made it really easy for me to water. All I do, and they're already on, is I come over here and turn these knobs. That waters this bed, stuff over there, and this other hose waters most of what's right over here. There's another hose for the back, but I can't get to that one right now. That's just part of how things go. If you're disabled, you're not going to be able to do everything by yourself. So you really just need to hone in on what you can do and let people help you with the rest of it. One of the other things in the garden that I really love as far as accessibility is this green stalk planter. You know, with all the cells, you can plant almost anything in it. And the way you water it is there's a big reservoir up top. If you go to the hardware store and buy you a nozzle, a long extension nozzle with a little bend in it, you can just hang it up there in that reservoir, turn the water on, and that's an easy water system, and you don't have to water each individual cell. So I was going to show y'all how I move this tractor, but there's so much speed on the ground that I want them to eat it all. And so I'll leave them out here, let them clean up the ground, and I'll move it this evening. But I had already edited this video. Alright, y'all. Well, that's about it. If you enjoyed the video, hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and as always, we'll see you next time. Appreciate it.